You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio. Hey, what's good, everybody? This is the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Let's get you caught up in the NFL week. A little bit slower this week. Going to be a little bit quicker this week, but we're going to get you up to date. Jets re-sign guard Joe Tippmann. He played center and guard for them over the last few years. For the former third-round pick, gets a 4-year deal, $66.4 million, extended, and brings a little bit of solidifying on the offensive side, as they also re-signed running back Breece Hall to a contract extension this offseason. So a little bit familiarity happening in New York, so that's good. The Chiefs added 2 more years to Patrick Mahomes' contract, extending the superstar quarterback to the highest overall right now contract, even above Dak Prescott at 62.5 mil, I think is what it averages to. Either way, it greatly reduces the current cap hits that they were going to incur from his previous contract. So yeah, he's not going anywhere from the Chiefs anytime soon. Dolphins agreed to terms on a 3-year, $52.5 million extension with center Aaron Brewer. The Dolphins center, who was drafted in the mid-rounds about 3 years ago, was due for a extension as he was not a first-round pick. And yeah, they keep that familiarity there with the new quarterback coming in Malik Willis. Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos, gets a 5-year extension. Him and the GM are now signed through the 2030 season, which honestly, that could be nothing but music to Bo Nix's ears. As long as him and the head coach don't get in some like back and forth squabble over some bullshit and they're on the same page, the Bo Nix extension is going to happen. You got your head coach locked in long term. You know where this is going. Honestly, the Denver Broncos are one of my Super Bowl contending teams, I feel, from the AFC going into next year. I think they win the division again even. And I went over that in part 4 of the State of the Division series that we do. Speaking of Broncos, also on the Broncos defensive side of the ball is pass rusher Jonathan Cooper. He has been arrested again. The linebacker pass rusher who has had 31.5 sacks over the last 3 years could not stay away as he obsessed over his girlfriend. The man was hit with basically a restraining order after the first arrest on domestic abuse. He still continued to harass her on the phone, messages, showed up at her door. She called the cops. Bing, bang, boom, he's back in jail. Like, 28-year-old, bright, young, upcoming season, and you're being just a weird creeper that just can't quit stalking a girl, dude. Like, it's a good thing that team has lots of depth. Let's just put it that way. Still a Super Bowl favorite, in my opinion. Panthers signed wide receiver Jalen Coker to give some stability for Mr. Bryce Young at quarterback over in Carolina. He gets a 3-year, $35 million contract extension. He's probably slated more as like wide receiver 3 and slot receiver to whatever extent they use him like that. You got McMillan on the outside, Leggett on the other. There's no reason other than just poor execution that on paper this team looks good. I don't know if they have the same replication as last year, because let's keep in mind they also had running back Rico Dowell, who was giving defenses problems, signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. So Chuba Hubbard can, hold his own, but I don't think it's going to be as explosive as people are probably hoping. Carolina fans, keep your expectations a little lower on your football team. But hey, congratulations on the Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup, though, to you. And the final story of the day, sad little news note, as former All-Pro linebacker, defensive lineman, Aldon Smith, the former 49er and Raiders player, passed away at the age of 36. And the team did not disclose reasons as to his death, but with 31 and was it 31 and a half sacks or 34 and some? Either way, he has still, to this day, the most sacks within the first 2 years of his career. The guy looked, when he was playing and he wasn't in trouble with the law, this could be a name that we could have said on the all-time sacks leader. Or close to. Top 5. Guys could not stop him. He was basically like the Myles Garrett before Myles Garrett kind of thing. Right? Yeah, 36, man. That's too goddamn young. Too goddamn young. Anyway. Moving along to part 5 of our State of the Division. As we continue, we have the NFC West today, and we will start with the current reigning and defending Super Bowl champion, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle focused more on retaining in-house help and letting certain pieces walk in free agency, as they have to obviously keep in complex the fact of re-signing young talent that are going to shape this team for the next 5 years. And just being able to draft in their place. So the conservative Seattle approach is probably the best way to go for that, for the champs. As they re-signed Raheed Shaheed, a deadline trade done by them last season. Great kick returner for you. And he brings explosive wide receiver 2/slot for the Seahawks, who, let's be honest, he's basically the slot guy at this point. You have him and Torrey Horton trying to battle it out as he comes up as a rookie from last year. But Cooper Kupp's coming back. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has his contract extension, and he's now the highest paid receiver in the league. They're ready to make a run and make a Super Bowl two-peat, basically. They're ready to repeat. There's no reason why the Seahawks, even though they lost Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs, safety Kobe Bryant to the Bears, and defensive end Boy Mafe, I think he went to the Jaguars or something like that. Anyway, either way, all starting players for this team in the Super Bowl. They drafted Jadarian Price in the first round. They got safety Bud Clark in the draft. They went and drafted another defensive back in Julian Neal. That's just their first 3 picks. Now, honestly, that's perfect. You replace the safety, you replace the running back. He's going to be your running back for the next 4 years. He's on the rookie contract. Plus, you can pick up his 5th-year option. So you'll have him for the next 5 years if this kid pans out, kind of like a Kenneth Walker situation. I don't think Zach Charbonneau is going to be long-term, but he's going to be there to help a nice little 2 running back system. But at the end of the day, they have a great rotation and plethora of young talent ready to come up in year 2 for some of these guys on the defensive line. That's why Boy Mafe also, got the let out. Needless to say, this team could very well be back at the Super Bowl. I figure it's more based on, can they win division and lock down home field again? Because when you're playing in the 12th man in Seattle, they bring a different kind of energy. An energy that, quite frankly, is hard to get the plays off that sometimes these guys are trying to call. So They're a solid team. They're solid. Simple as that. You're Super Bowl champs for a reason, and you prove that by a very dominant performance in the playoffs. It's between them and, I believe, I'll just give it right now, LA for the division. I know, and we're going to list off the 49ers and why they're my dark horse more, but you know what? Honestly, Cardinals, there's not much to talk about. The drama there is 1-11 starter from last season, Jacoby Brissett, wanted like $40 million a season or some shit. They laughed in his face, and he's going to report to camp, basically. Carson Beck, honestly, maybe they'll just start the third-round draft pick at quarterback, because can't be any better or worse than Jacoby Brissett. Like, fuck you. This year is not about winning for Arizona. It's about getting the quarterback of the future next year. I think Cardinals tank without tanking next year. Tyler Algier, who was hoping to get a starting running back position, is now going to be sharing the backfield with number 3 overall pick, Jeremiah Love. Just head scratch, like the head scratching moves a team that was so talked about last year just fucking plummeted on their face. And I don't think they're getting back up right away. So, sorry, Cardinal fans, but not really a lot there to report on. 49ers, on the other hand, they had themselves a nice little offseason. They revamped the wide receiver room after what was basically a revolving door of guys last year. So, the new look offense has Mike Evans, former number 1 and Tampa Bay legend, wide receiver. You have Christian Kirk, who is going to be coming in as the number 2-3 receiver. He'll be battling out Ricky Purcell and a couple of the other receivers that they brought back. Re-signing. Trey Greenlaw is coming back to town. They bring in the veteran linebackers. He was released by the Denver Broncos earlier this offseason. Cornerback Nate Hobbs comes in to add some versatility to the secondary. You got Eddie Pinheiro being locked up to a 4-year deal. He brings stability to the kicking game. They were having troubles with their kicking game, and Jake Moody got the boot. You went through a couple kickers in his replacement, and then finally Pinheiro just made magic. He made home in San Francisco. So, and then they trade for, and I like this. I like when San Francisco, because this isn't the first time they've done it, where they'll go pick up, a guy who only a few seasons ago was signed a contract extension of, like, he's a big-time defensive tackle in a 4-3 system. Or no, sorry, a 3-4 system. He then got traded because Dallas moved to a 4-3 this offseason. So, in doing that, they have a guy who they were paying obscene money to as a number 3 defensive tackle because they went and traded for, was it Rashawn Gary? Well, they did trade for Rashawn Gary, but they also got Quentin Williams in mid-season last year, and they've revamped their defense. So anyway, they traded him for a 3rd-round pick to the 49ers. However, they reworked the deal, and to have the extra cap space that the Niners did after being able to void Brandon Ayuk's godforsaken contract after that clusterfuck, their draft was basically to replenish a bunch of the, secondary players that they lost in free agency. So, honestly, I feel the Niners, as long as they can stay healthy, that's the big thing. Can Brock Purdy stay healthy for the whole season and every other piece on that team? Because other than them playing and doing the voodoo magic dance to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy for all the games, the Niners team, they scratched and clawed to a 12-5 last year, but they can stay healthy. There's no reason why they can't actually enter their name into winning this division. There's no reason that them, the LA Rams, and the Seahawks all don't make playoffs. they all did last year. There's no reason that can't repeat it again. But moving on, honestly, the Rams jumped ahead of everyone. Why? Because they kept majority of depth and certain player positions. They extended Matthew Stafford, current league MVP quarterback from last year. They go out and lock down the secondary by basically bringing in the Kansas City Chiefs 2 corners from last season. They signed Jalen Watson as a free agent, traded for Trent McDuffie, and then re-signed him to an extension. So they're locked at corner now. They go and make a huge splash last week by getting Myles Garrett. Yeah, they gave up Jared Verse, but honestly, this is Myles Garrett we're talking about. And if Aaron Donald decides to come out of retirement at 35, there's no saying what this defense can't do. Offensively, everyone's back. Is basically what it is. They drafted their quarterback of the future in Ty Simpson. They got a lot of flack for that because they were expected to add like a play now piece on defense or maybe an offensive weapon, but they draft Ty Simpson. Honestly, smart on them. Matthew Stafford's window is this, and you will be continuing after that. So get him in place. Let him learn from the guy. Make a Brett Favre situation. Worked out for Aaron Rodgers. Hell, even Jordan Love at this point. A pick that, you know what? I don't see why he couldn't compete. Max Clare. Tight end they picked up in the second round. This kid could bring much needed a much needed solid piece at tight end after Tyler Higbee has been on and off the last few years as he's been injured a lot. Kobe Parkinson has stepped in nice, but I think a nice solid go-to tight end for Stafford would put this offense on a new level. Let's just put it that way. Devontae Adams already brings his, he's going to be where he needs you. Nakua is your speed guy. Atwell breaks ankles as well. The LA Rams have gone all in. All their chips are in. They are all or nothing. They've given up a lot of first-round picks this offseason in trades. They've maxed out and maximized the cap as best they can to fit all these contracts. They are loaded to the tits. It's fuck them pick season. And you got the number one offense from last year, plus you just added the number one defensive player from last year, and locked down your secondary. On paper, they look unstoppable. But the great thing about football is anything can happen. And even though I'm going to say it's probably between LA and Seattle, I think the Rams get division next year, but I don't think it's as guaranteed as people think. It'll be a fight. It'll be a claw. It'll be a battle. And that is the NFC West for you, and that is the end of the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Catch us live every Tuesday at 6 o'clock General Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, anywhere you get your podcasts. And, of course, YouTube. Be safe. Take care. We'll catch you here next week on the BearDown